going to go ahead and start the recording. Welcome everyone. I'm so happy to see so many people are interested in this subject. It's a different one. And before I get started, please just realize that I'm not an expert by any means. I'm just providing you folks with some information from working in the field for decades, and I have used these word expanders. I know what they can do and what they can't do, but it is an individual preference. Not everyone will find them to be as helpful perhaps as I do, but I can tell you that in the industry today, you would probably be in the minority if you did not use one of these, simply because medical transcription today is based upon production, and this is one of the best ways to ramp that up, and we'll get into that in a bit. It's also a great tool to preserve your limbs. So, and having done this for decades, when I had to go back to actual production work a few years ago, I quickly realized that if I did not use these and use them well, I was not going to last, just because I've been doing this for so long, and they really are an incredible tool. So, but again, you know, this is kind of a different area that some folks have a hard time with. So just, you know, listen to the information and decide for yourself if this seems like a good thing or a not so good thing. I will hold all the questions till the end as usual. I'll try to get through this and leave plenty of time for questions at the end. This presentation is a little bit different. I'm going to be doing some live things when I'm done showing you the bones of these types of tools. I just want you to get a bird's eye view of how it really works when you're doing this. So I'm going to leave the screen big for now, and then I'm going to reduce this a bit and go into the live performance, so to speak, so you can see this particular product that I use, but they're all pretty much, you know, the same deals. But you'll be able to see that up close and personal and see how it works. So hopefully, without further ado, we'll get moving. Our presentation today, as you know, is about word expanders. It is a productivity tool, but you can also use it to increase your accuracy, believe it or not. So again, that can be extremely important in your day-to-day. So I'm going to just run through these a little bit at a time, and again, just let me know when I'm done if you have questions. Why would we want to use one in the first place? Well, there are a couple of good reasons that we would want to use them, as I alluded to before. You're going to save time. You're going to save wear and tear on your hands, wrists, arms, etc. I mean, no matter how softly you type, this is wear and tear on your bones and joints and ligaments. So the more keystrokes you can eliminate as well, the more productive you become. If you have a word that has 15 letters and spaces in it and you only typed in 3, that's quite a savings right there on just one little phrase. So that's one reason why I say it's incredible what you can do with it. And the sky is really the limit. I use it very basically. Some people use it even on a higher level than I do, and they're very successful. As I mentioned before, MT work is totally production based today. If you don't use one, you will be in the minority, and time does equal money in transcription, unfortunately. I don't want to mislead you and have you think that quality still doesn't care, because you are expected to maintain unbelievable standards of accuracy. But how do you do that plus ramp up your line counts? So it is a conundrum. This can help you though. Word expanders can improve accuracy. Some people would go, what? I don't believe it. But think about it. If you type it in one time, you're done. You've looked it up, you've researched it, you know that the thing is going to be a generic drug every time. So all you have to do is enter it as a generic drug, or you enter it as a brand name. When you put it at the beginning of a sentence, it will automatically capitalize. So it's like once and done for me. If I have to look something up twice, I've just doubled my work. So if I spend all that time researching, I definitely want to make sure that I put it in my expander, or at the very least, if I'm not using an expander, then I should be adding that to a word list somewhere, because if we're spending time doing things multiple times, you are learning, but you're also wasting time. So I do recommend the word expanders from the viewpoint of accuracy. However, as I have learned the hard way, expand at your own risk. The important thing to know is that whatever you put into a medical report becomes your responsibility now. So proofreading becomes critical, crucial, #1 priority. To give you an example, it's still very embarrassing to me. I did a gastroenterology group, and they did a lot of rectal fissure repairs, things like that, and they had so many standard phrases, blah, blah, blah. Well, one of the phrases was that they would put a seton, S-E-T-O-N, into the patient's cavity when they were done with the procedure. I was using my word expander, and I inserted Candace Seton, S-E-A-T-O-N-P-A-C, into the patient's rectum. Well, I did not happen to notice that. And it went through, and they called me up and said, I just wanted you to know that physician assistant Seton is doing very well. And I said, what? And they said, yes, we finally got her out of the patient's rectum, and she's recovering. So it can happen to any of us, just that little distraction. I did not obviously read what I put when I expanded that, and it was a real turning point for me. I'm extremely careful about what I expand in a report, and I try to make myself just stop, look, and read, because it can happen. So let's talk a little bit about what kinds of expanders there are. You definitely need one that suits your style. Some people don't like a lot of busy. Some people like things that are very methodical. Some people don't mind busy, which you'll see in a bit from the one that I use. It's all about finding your stride, finding what works for you, what makes your day easier. And you have a really great opportunity right now to test some of these out. So I don't know that you would be able to use autocorrect in the curriculum, because you are not supposed to be cutting and pasting. And I really don't know at this point. I haven't used Word autocorrect in many, many years. It would be worth a try if you kept that open, if you could type in Docnito or DictoScribe and see if it would work. I don't know if it would. But basically in Word you have the option to add words. You have the option of auto-correcting typos, things like that. It's all part of the Word program. The nice part of that is that it is free. If you have Word, you can insert words, phrases, exams, all kinds of things. It can be tedious because you have to add every single word or phrase. You also have to be careful about formatting. If you are using one certain font and then you go to another document or another program, it might take that format with it and give you the wrong font, and you have larger words and smaller words, and you're like, was this really a time saver? I have had friends that had horrific problems with Word when they were transcribing, just because it needed to be debugged or something like that, and it was just a nightmare. I also had somebody put one of their dictionaries into my Word program, and it was expanding things all over the place. I could have died. I had to manually go in and delete literally hundreds of entries because it was just expanding everything. And I mean, I give her credit that she had put in all those things, but it was a real nuisance for me, and I did not particularly like it. It was doing it in emails, it was doing it all over the place. So that kind of leads me to believe that any Microsoft program, it probably would expand. I'm not sure, again, about our software program, so that would be something to check out. Again, though, it is free. So that's always a nice little option, but there are other choices. You have Phrase Express, and I'm going to go through that very rudimentarily with you. Because we have other videos about that online in the forum. But Phrase Express is free at this point. I do believe after you cease being a student, you might have to pay for it, but I'm not positive about that. I know you have a license for a certain amount of time, or if you use the free version supposedly for home, you probably can keep that and use it. So it is an open source type of program. Then there are other software programs like Shorthand. You'll hear a lot of that in the industry, and the one that I use is Instant Text. There are also a bunch of other ones, and the software program ones are pretty much the same animal. So the first thing I'm going to do is just run through the basics of Phrase Express. Again, I'll show you the exact video that I recommend that's in the forum link, and it's from 2016, I believe. It actually, I've played around with it a lot, and it is a really slick program. I don't like it for the word expansion, and you'll see why in a bit, but if you want to get it to do macros, you can get it to open any website you want. You can get it to open your calculator. I use it to do that. You can add words, phrases, as many as you want, and you can set formatting. You can do all kinds of slick things with it. The only thing I don't like about it is that you have to add every single word or phrase, by hand, and to me that takes a really long time. As I said, when I went back to typing and QA editing, I needed to be up and running and hit the floor pretty much, moving 100 miles an hour. So I didn't have time to be putting in words and phrases. So that's one reason I did not go with something like Phrase Express. But it does work. As you can see here, I've put in, I just call this folder acronyms. It could be abbreviations. It could be whatever you want. I made up all of these little expansions, and we'll get into this a little bit later as well. Everybody has their own system, I think, when I'm typing, and so to me it's like right greater than left. I can easily expand that in my head, RGTL. That's how I saved that because it made sense to me. SVC for Superior Vena Cava, that makes sense to me because those are standard abbreviations. It also reinforces those abbreviations when you save them like that. So I kind of like to do that. As much as possible, I try to have a rhyme or a reason, but every once in a while I do save something and go, what did I save that as? So, it does help if you do have a system, and you can always go back and try to find it, but again, that's wasting your time. So I do recommend you have some kind of idea of how you want to save things, or just start out and see how it works, and if it doesn't work, change it up. But these worked for me. So as you can see, I have atrial fibrillation. All I have to type in is AF pretty much. So I'm going to just show you up here, And then again, you can see the webinar that's on the forum, and it is live, and he does do it, showing you how to do it, so it's kind of cool. Right greater than left would be your description. It prints out here as well, right greater than left, but down here my auto text, which means that those are the only characters I'm going to type in, RGTL, and it's going to expand every single time to right greater than left. Same with atrial fibrillation, things like that. If you notice here, I have congestive heart failure twice. I wanted it capitalized one place, and I wanted it not capitalized another place. So you can do that, and you have choices. In order to create a new entry in Phrase Express, you come up here to your Control-0 hotkey, or you hit your Control-0 hotkey, or you can, and that would make you a new folder, which I did here, called acronyms. You can also come down to the buttons at the very bottom here, new folder, new phrase. And those are interchangeable. You can go either way. But basically what you're going to do is, this is your program tree here, and you're going to make a folder. I recommend that so you don't lose them all. Then you're going to manually create every single phrase that you want. You can, of course, do it while you're typing. All you have to do is highlight it and, you know, start a new phrase. So you can use your little button down here to do a new phrase, or you can use a hotkey to go there. You type in your description here. Then you're going to, it ends up typing in here for you. It automatically enters it. It becomes your new phrase over here. And then your auto text will be your last step. What do you want to type in to get left bundle branch block? Now, as you can see, that's a four-word expansion, and all you're going to type in is LBBB. That's it. And once you do this, you click on OK, and you have now saved left bundle branch block as LBBB. So if you went out to a page, all you would have to do is put your cursor where you want it and type that in, and you would get that expansion. So the other part about Phrase Express, which is nice compared to Word, which is a little bit, you can save the formats in Word, but it's just more tedious, and sometimes I've found it did not work. But here in Phrase Express, you can save these as an MS Word phrase. You can save it as RTF, which is sometimes a better bet. It won't wiggle around in format. Or you can just save it as unformatted, meaning it will pick up whatever format is in the program that you plunk that into, basically. So there are options that you can do. So basically with Phrase Express, you would just go to your spot, which would be right here, and you, whoops, sorry, and you would just expand that. You would type right here LBBB, and it would expand to left bundle branch block. And you'll see when I do the live demonstration how that works a little bit better. And this is basically when you download this PDF. Here are your instructions. It tells you what to do to store a new phrase, the simple steps. It is very simple. As I said, it's just, to me, it's tedious because all of these things were not in there already. The word about formats, as I was mentioning, you can save it these different ways, so it won't wiggle around with formatting, change fonts, you know, do things like that. So to review, basically with any word expander, you're going to go to the point in your text that you actually want something to be inserted. That's really important too. Not only do you want it to be the right phrase, such as Miss Seton, but you also want it to be in the right place. So if your cursor isn't in the right place, you're going to print it out somewhere it shouldn't be, and then you're going to have to move it, delete it, blah, blah, blah. So basically, we're using this to type in shortcuts. If you want to look at it that way, we're typing in something short to get something big, and we're going to save all those keystrokes. As I said, CHF is 3 letters, and we have just printed out over 15 characters. So this is the video. It's called Ludicrous Speed, and it demos how to set up your Phrase Express. It's really, really good, and it has also down here this attachment, which is your PDF version of that webinar. It does have tons of applications that I don't think I would ever use. I probably would forget half of them. Just because I'm so used to opening pages and I have shortcuts of my own. But if you're into that, you can make macros to do just about anything within that program just by putting in codes and also adding websites, things like that. For the rest of our program today, though, I'm going to go through Instant Text because it's the one I know, it's the one I use. I have found it to be just incredibly helpful to me in my career. As I say, all of these are basically the same guy. They're the same animal, they work the same way. Most do have a 30-day at least trial period, and I would recommend that before you ever purchase anything that you have that trial period and see if it does work. And if it doesn't work, don't feel bad about it. Just uninstall it, maybe try another one, or maybe don't try one at all. But the most I have paid for mine was $89 US, and I don't have to pay for upgrades. I don't have to do anything. I think it automatically upgrades itself online. I have the license forever, and to me that was a very small investment for the amount of time that I type, the amount of energy that I put out on my keyboard. So I can open it, I can shut it. Sometimes I leave it closed because I just don't need it, but at other times when I'm doing a lot of heavy-duty typing, it's always open and I'm always using it. So to me, it's a great investment. The best things about it, it comes with lots of dictionaries already built in, and that's what I was alluding to before. When I needed to be up and running and just hit the floor at 100 miles an hour, it had 4 dictionaries already there. I think I have it in here that there's at least 14,000 entries. It's incredible. You can also merge the dictionaries, which I'll show you I did. I was a little leery of doing it, and I had to relearn a couple of the options that I was using to expand, which I'll show you. But once I merged the medical dictionary with the drug dictionary, I was thrilled, and I have since figured out that I believe there's a typo dictionary that I might want to also merge. So it's kind of cool. The sky's the limit. You can still type in what you want to add. You can still add anything you want, even if it's already there. So that's the nice place, or the nice thing about it. I can expand this thing as much as I want. I'll never run out of room, and I can add so much as one word. I can add an entire page of a template of somebody's dictation. So in just a couple keystrokes, it's incredibly simple. One thing to consider, I guess, if you wanted to say it was a con, some people find it a little busy, and you might think that when you see it moving. It's a program that you will eventually have to buy after your 30-day trial or whatever trial it is, and maybe the style isn't for everyone. But as I say, I would give it a whirl and see how it goes. This is how your program would look. Mine's a little bit different, and you'll see it when I go live here in a minute. Basically, you've got options. These are your dictionaries. 5 is the merged one that I made. The top 4 are the ones that it came with. You have your ribbon up here with lots of options. You can change the view. You can move it over to the side, you know, so you don't have to look at it down at the bottom. Things like that. Basically, it seems like a really small program, but it packs a big punch. I really highly recommend it. As I said, 14,000 plus words and phrases. It's almost as much as I have on my iPod or my iPad for tunes. You would be absolutely amazed at the things that are in there. Again, you can add to it at any given time words, phrases, or whole reports. The main thing to know about this system, the way they built this one, they use the ABCZ system, which means you take the first 3 letters of a word and then the last letter. So hospitalization, for instance, you would take HOS and then you would put in N. And when you do that, you get all these choices. All of these choices come up. And the one that you wanted happened to be number 1. So you would click on that or just type the number 1 on your keyboard. But if you wanted hoarseness or hypotension, you would select that number and it would come in for you. Again, just make sure you're very careful about you really wanted that word. You really have to do nothing more than type something in, and then within this particular program you just hit the semicolon key and the word expands. For instance, if you had highlighted number 1 and you hit 1, it would come in, or if you just type that in on your screen and you hit the semicolon, it will expand that word. If you wanted the second choice, of course, you'd go to number 2. Even though, as I mentioned before, they have used the ABCZ system. That doesn't mean that you can't do things your own way, just as I showed you CHF. I'm going to put in CHF. I'm not going to bother with CON and the last letter, which would be E. That doesn't make sense to me. So I would type in CHF because I know that abbreviation, and so I want it to expand to that. So you can mix this up a bit, just whatever works. Or another way to do it is, I'll show you this in a little bit, the patient came in for, you just type in the first letter of each word. And then when you're sitting there typing, you just mentally think of those letters, and even before you get to the last one, if you've saved this, that choice will come up for you. So there are several different ways that you can save things. And again, you can save things capitalized or non-capitalized, however you want to do it. Okay, so we're getting close. We're going to go live. I've never really done this before live, so if I mess up, just laugh. It's all good. I'm just human. I am the same boat you folks are in, just trying to, you know, make life a little easier. So hopefully I won't mess it up too bad, but I can give you a bird's eye view. I do really like this program just because it is so robust with words, phrases that I use every single day. And I'll show you some of the options as well. I will show you how I add something. It's very simple. And we will practice, and then I will go back to showing you another unique tool which you will be able to use for researching, which I think is awesome. So just to show you what we're going to do, I'm going to go out here. Can everybody still see okay? You can see the text and everything, I hope. Great. Okay. So I'm just going to demonstrate here. If I was typing along and I said I wanted to type, I'm hearing the patient. Okay. I'm just going to go. There you go. And if I want to, oh, it would help if I actually opened my program. All right. There we go. Now we're cool. All right, so I have to move this screen over here, make sure I'm in. Okay, so if I'm here, I'm just going to go to the patient. If I want past medical history, and please watch down below, that's where all the action is happening down there. So if you can see that, number 5 is past medical history. I want to type that in, right? So I want it all in caps. Well, which one's that? Number 1. I want coronary artery disease. Bang, I have it. I want review of systems. What do I get? Number 3. Oh, I didn't want it that way. I wanted it all like lowercase, so I just hit it number 2. Okay, now I do want it capitalized. I need it that way, except I did not want that. All right, I want regular rate and rhythm. And the other thing I might mention while I'm fooling around here, CTAB, this is one of those examples, clear to auscultation bilaterally. I just used the first letter of each word. To me, and it helps me remember these things. If I mentally think for a second, clear to auscultation bilaterally, CTAB, I've memorized something, I've done something to help myself. SCDs, common thing, you're going to see that everywhere. Bang, sequential compression devices. So you're kind of probably thinking, you know, this looks a little busy, but if you get used to it, it really ends up being, you don't even realize that you're looking at it. And the other thing, or the bottom part is what I'm saying, if you look over here on the left, under phrases, ROM can be range of motion or it can be rupture of membrane. So that's the important part right here. What do I want? I want range of motion. I have to look down. If I want rupture of membranes, bang, it's number 1. If I want RBBB, it's right bundle branch block. And now these two are things that I have a terrible time with. I can never remember if I need a hyphen. I can never remember if they're capitalized, and this is what I'm talking about. If I go out and I find this one time and it's trademarked, I'm going to put it in here because I don't want to have to deal with this ever again. I just want it once and done. So now I know if I hear soft roll as dressing, all I have to do is type that in, and here it is. It's number 2. I'm done. I don't have to worry anymore. And I added a comma because it's usually followed by something else. Same with soft sorb. Oh my gosh, there it is. I'm done. I don't have to worry anymore. Now, when you come to a word like organomegaly, this can be a little challenging. So I'm going to try that 3, the ABCZ, for methodology. Do you see that anywhere? Well, it's way over on the right, and it is number 5. If I press 5, I'm going to get originally. That's not what I wanted. So sometimes you have to add a few letters. So if I say ORGY, I'm still getting originally. I can't believe this. So what do I want to do? Type another Y. Didn't work. So sometimes you just have to fool with this, and yeah, you could probably type it in just as fast, but the more you do this, if I ever get to this word again, I'm going to know next time that if I type it in a certain way, it's going to work for me. So this is really silly, but there. I finally got it. I just kept typing in letters, and sometimes I will do that just to see if it will come up, and I like that it prints it out. It's completely correct. I don't have to go back and check my spelling. I don't have to do anything. So I think that one turned out to be, yeah, I had to type in a few more letters. So here we have a phrase. The patient, TP, is on, and if you look over, it's not there. So, I think I was thinking the patient is on. There we go. So I typed in TPIO, and sometimes I just mentally think the words through. The patient is on what? Metoprolol. And how do I spell it? Oh, look, it's right there, and it's generic. I don't have to worry about looking that up. I think that's a cool tool. Okay, let's try something really long. The anterior lip of the cervix. I don't believe it. It's in there. I did not put that in there. It's amazing what's in here. And then, if you'll notice, it starts leading me. It has what do I want to say? It melds phrases, it links phrases. So let me think. Wow. It was grasped with a single-tooth tenaculum. That's what he said. There you go. I did hardly any typing, and I have completely filled in an entire sentence just by looking down and seeing what was available. So the patient was prepped and draped in the usual. Is that there? It is. In the usual, what is he saying? In the usual sterile fashion, it's there. For abdominal surgery, get out of here. It's all there. Here's another good example. Follow-up and follow-up, the bane of our existence. The patient returns. Now, let me think. The patient, what would be a good one? The patient returns in, no. The patient, no, it's just giving me other things. The patient returns and, well, that did not go so well. In follow-up. Okay, so that was not a very good example because it didn't come up for me, but you can still type that in, and you could add that yourself. The patient returns in follow-up. So if you wanted to add this as a phrase right here, you're going to hit Alt =, and that opens up this little window, and it tells you what you are going to get, and in short what it is. So, and you don't have to even type anything in here because it will automatically do that. So if I say OK and I type in TPRIF, I believe that will do it. TPRIF, there you go. So I've done that one time, and now I have that. I could do the same thing with this one. The patient was advised to follow up, and I would know that that was my verb phrase. And the other thing to notice is if I start typing, the patient was advised 5, if I type that in, it starts showing as soon as you're in there, and then you can just keep typing that did not print out correctly. You can end up doing or locating something. What I'm trying to say, I'm getting tongue-tied. The things on your phrases screen will change the more that you type in, is what I'm trying to say. So you can end up, the patient was advised to follow up, but you can along the way put in something else if that was more appropriate rather than just that phrase. And the thing is, there are multiples saved under that. It's only showing you 6 choices, but there are many more choices below it, and you can add more choices if you want, but to me 6 was a good number. It gets a little too busy if you have too much down there. Here's another one. The patient is well developed, well nourished, and in no acute distress, except that's incorrect because it's hyphenated. So we would need to go back and fix that, but we still got well developed and well nourished and in no acute distress, right there. So this is what I'm saying. If you know some of these phrases, and you use them over and over and over, you can either find them in here or you can add them in the format that you need them in. So normal cephalic, that's a common misspelled word. Atraumatic, yes, and we're going to have to go with there we go. I used the ABCZ to get atraumatic. PERRL should be in there. Pupils are equal, and you would have to take out some of the words, and that's the other thing. You can use these, but then you would need to go back, and I often do this, pupils equal, round and reactive to light. If that's all he said, I have to take that out. So, but that's still way less work than what I had to do before. Soft, non-tender, non-distended, right in there. Normal vowel sounds. It's just incredible. Cranial nerves. I think that might be under NCN. Cranial nerves, right there, number 5. And again, you just need to go back and you would have to figure out, did they say all of that? Yes, they did. So it's all good. The other thing, like I say, you can make a template. If you want to do a physical exam, you have a stacked format and you know that you're going to use this all the time. You highlight it. You hit Alt equal. You certainly do not want that saved as that. And what it's doing, in short, it's taking the first letter of every word and saving it. But for something like that, obviously, way too long. So I call it like Phi X, because PE, you're going to get tons of options, pulmonary embolism, all kinds of things, and it would just be too hard to wade through those. So sometimes if I save something and I want it to be something I know I need to get my hands on right away, I save it specifically, like Camp Physical. That means Dr. Camp's Physical, and I can find that right away by just a few keystrokes. So if I came down here and I had my little I wanted to print out my exam, bang, it's right there. And the thing I put in here, I put these jump codes more or less so I could go in and fill it out so I don't get in trouble. If I put in numbers, I might mess up. So I just go ahead and add that, but look at all the time that I saved if I know that that's what he's going to dictate. And then I just sit here and I read this and I figure it out and I make my beautiful little exam based on what he actually said. So I think, again, it's an incredible tool if you know how to use it the right way. The last thing too I wanted to show you, and then I'll go to questions. If you need to find spellings or phrases that you might only hear a bit of, it's incredible what you can do with this. The prepped and draped phrase, for example, what are the next words? I can't tell what he's saying. If you started typing in, the patient was prepped, or if you even did, and I'm going to show you how to open that up too. The patient was prepped and draped. That's all I typed in. So I typed in the first letter of every word. And here we have the phrase, prepped and draped in the usual sterile fashion. Is that what he was saying? Oh my gosh, it was. So there you go. You just eliminated a blank. What if the patient was placed on glucophage? I don't know what the heck is glucophage. No, it's not coming up. Oh my goodness, there's glucophage right there. It's amazing. So I think you just have to play around with this and see what you can come up with. Patient was placed in what position? I think I needed the patient was placed. I believe it just went by me. There you go. Trendelenburg position, for example. The patient was placed in T. Well, maybe we're looking for lithotomy, but if we heard a T, the patient was placed in Tren. It didn't come up. The patient was placed in dorsal lithotomy. No. Well, that's not a very good example either, except if I keep going, sometimes I can find it. If I type in another number up at the top, sometimes it will change those phrases for me, and those are the ones I'm talking about that are further down the list. But Trendelenburg is in there. I apologize. I just I'm going to change my mind. The patient was placed in dorsal or in lithotomy position. In lithotomy. All right, there it is. And then if it was dorsal lithotomy, obviously you would go back and add that. But you can do this in bits and pieces, or you can do whole sentences. What happens if you type in HCTZ? Bang, there it is. Except, of course, you have to make sure that you have it uncapitalized if it's in the middle of a sentence. The patient was told to, or taken to, that's not what I wanted either. Was told to. Okay. The patient was placed on metformin. And how do we find that? Just by typing in MET. So as I say, you can flip back and forth. You can go over to the drugs dictionary by itself to look for drugs, or you can, like I did, merge, and you can find something. The other thing, as I mentioned, the settings. You can change those settings merely by clicking on anything in here, and it will open it up. If you open this up, you have the options up here. This is where you would come to merge glossaries. That's what they're called, glossaries, not dictionaries, but same thing. You can also do productivity things on yourself. I've never done that. I do that through my job. You can change your view. As you unchecked these things, you would eliminate these windows down here. So you would have less to look at if that was bothering you. The other thing is, if you end up just by looking at your words in the dictionary, one second. The thing I wanted to show you was that if you clicked on the word, you can just scroll through your dictionary. Hold on here. There we go. If you just open up your, let me type in something though. Okay. If you wanted to look at something, where did I go now? I don't know where I went. There we go. You click on the actual dictionary. This shows you which dictionary I'm in, and then you can scroll down through and you can see all these things. This is the short form. This is what it's coming out as on the page. It's unbelievable. You could scroll down here forever. Do not intubate. Drugs, unbelievable. You can do your blanks this way. Sutures. This is also a great way to research and learn new terms, because you can type in anything here. For instance, that weird position that I was trying to find, Trendelenburg, what the heck could that have been? There it is, right there. So this is an incredible tool, I think, just by itself, because it can expand your knowledge of terms and phrases. So I do like it for that as well. I realize I've about used up all my time, but at the end of this there is a link, and this will be posted up in about an hour or so, because I have to convert it and then I will save it. Jackie will post it up, and that link is here, but you can find it online as well. It is a great tool as long as you use it the right way and develop that expertise on your own. Make it work for you. Okay, Catherine's asking, how do you make the merged dictionary or the glossary? It gives you the instructions online to do that. That's what I did. I looked it up, but it actually was under one of those option tabs, and I just selected those, and I called it something else so it couldn't hurt anything. Donna is asking, can we import dictionaries? You bet. That's another totally cool feature. I'm not sure about the formats, so I would double check. Like, for instance, if you have a dictionary and you want to share it with somebody, I think you can. So, and it might even be you could import from an Excel file. I'm not sure. I was in Instant Text. Somebody was asking which program it was. Yeah, you can use these for commas. Actually, if you had certain phrases that were supposed to have commas all the time, that's the best way to nail this, because soft, non-tender, non-distended, you have to type that over and over and over, or pupils equal, round, reactive, delight. How many times do we want to type that in? And if you get it right, like I say, once and done, you do it and now you have it right. You can't get it wrong as long as you put it in the right way. That's the kicker. You got to put it in the right way and then use the right expansion. How do you, Sandra, I'm not quite understanding your question about going into the report you were working on. Oh, I can show you that. Hold on here. I do have a fake report, and I can show you here. Okay, so here I am. I'm in a report in our program, pardon me, and I need to type in congestive heart failure. It's not showing up, but it is down here working. And then the patient was admitted to, but I can get it to show if I need it. So where did it go? Why am I, oh, there it is. Here he is. Okay, the patient was admitted to the hospital for exacerbation of CHF. There you go. So it works in your programs, and you can do anything you want with it. You can also use that to put in your comments when you're even grading your reports. Can you tell us what you're hitting after the short form? Donna, I hit either one because I'm picking this number over here, or I'm picking this number over here, depending on what I want. You just kind of have to fool around with it sometimes, or I hit the semicolon key, believe it or not, and it prints that out. But it's really simple to use if you just get used to it. At first, I didn't like it as well because it was flying around down at the bottom. Now I don't even notice it. And like I say, you can move this up or down. You can, you know, make it bigger, make it smaller. You can close some of these things so you don't have so much going on. I type about 100 words a minute, so this thing is like blah. It's like flashing because it's changing, and if somebody stands behind me and sees that open, they're like, what are you doing? Because it's giving me all those options while I'm typing, but I don't even notice it anymore because I kind of know and I've memorized. Like if I type in COPD and I know it's number 2, but I always look up. As soon as I expand that, I always take that extra second now to make sure I just put in COPD rather than, you know, Constance somebody PAC. But it really does work, and you get to know your keys. You get to know things that are just second nature to you. Like I know exactly what keys I need to press. I might say too, if you're using like one of the dictionaries, the dictionary for just medical terms without the med dictionary, the numbers will be different. So when I merged that into a new dictionary, then it got a little confusing because I was like, what? Those numbers aren't the same. So I kind of had to relearn a few things, but the same things kept coming up. It was just that now they were number 3 instead of number 2 because we had medications mixed in. And Sandra, yes, you can start using this at any point in your curriculum. There's really nothing that you're required to do about these phrase expanders or anything like that. They're just there for you as tools. And as I said, most of the workforce today we all use them, because if we didn't, we just wouldn't be as productive. And Donna, you can add these as all caps, you can add them as first cap, you can add them with a colon. It all depends on the style. Eve, how do you select between a phrase or a word at the bottom after you enter the short form? I'm not quite understanding that. I think maybe you mean because you have so many things over here, like if I type in the patient was prepped and draped. So you notice nothing's coming up over in the words because it's automatically known that I must be messing with the phrase. So I just am going to pick, if I needed to, the patient was advised to, because that's what he said, I'm going to pick number 5. And just by hitting 5 and the semicolon, it expanded that one. Now, if I want to add in the phrase return to the emergency department, I'm going to add in 6, and then I've got a whole sentence, and all I did was type in a couple of letters. And I'm just using that semicolon key to hit that and do it. They also have videos. YouTube videos are awesome. They have videos of this program on there, so if you want to watch one of those, that might help too, because it shows in great detail some of the features. There's also a typo dictionary. I didn't get to get into that, but you can also add that one, so it automatically corrects words like accommodation. You know, you only put in one M, it's always going to show you, oops, you made a mistake, you might want to change that. So I think these are just incredible tools. Heather is asking, is it easy to override an incorrect expansion? Well, all you have to do is backspace or just hit Control Z and pick the one you wanted. It's actually, is it, Ria's asking me, is it handy only after you're assigned certain accounts? No, because this is every day. This is every day. You're going to type, the patient was admitted to the hospital. He had congestive heart failure. You don't have to wait to have certain people. You just need it for typing, and I do think like it's a great thing just to scroll through that. It's like reading medical books or terminology books when I was starting out, because I was back in the day when they carved medical records on stone. We didn't have things like the internet, of course, and we had books. Well, the only way that I could know new things was to page through those books. And if we were driving somewhere to a game for my kids or whatever, I would sit there and just read words. And I think that that is a skill that might help a lot of people, because the more you see words, the more you hear words. So if you open up those dictionaries and you just start scrolling and looking at those phrases and words and meds, you're going to remember them. And even if you don't remember them, you're going to know where to find them. And just by typing in a few letters, you'll be able to find them. So I do think, you know, this is a great tool on so many levels. Sunshine is asking if you have a list of drugs or phrases. I missed it. Oops. Would you go down the list and insert them all at one time? Oh, I would never insert them all at one time, because you want to be able to find them individually. Plus the fact that the med dictionary is probably going to have them in there. But you want to make sure that you enter those correctly. If you notice, like metoprolol was in lowercase, glucophage was in uppercase, that's because one's a generic and one's a brand name, and you never have to look that up again. It's right there for you. So now you know, and you don't have to get marked off a 1.5 error for that. So that's why I say this is an incredible tool, and if you think about it for a bit, I think maybe, you know, it could help. The phrase express launch, no, you don't. It's up to you guys. You can use phrase express and you'll learn how to add phrases. It's basically the same principle, Basically the same thing, but I like the instant text simply because of, like I say, the robustness of it, the amount of information that you will have at your fingertips from day one compared to, you know, day 725. So I do think, you know, it's up to every individual. You can try it for 30 days, and if you don't like it, definitely, you know, let me know. But I think that in the long run, this is a great tool. So I do see we're running out of time. So as usual, it was wonderful spending time with you all, and I hope that this was informative and not too confusing. I get real nervous when I have to jump around on my computer in front of people, and I hope I'm not making it crazy for you and making everyone dizzy. So anyway, send me an email if you have further questions, and all I can say is type on. Good luck, all right? Wonderful having you all. See you next time. Bye.